In this episode of Advertising in America, we're talking about marketing myths that just don't measure up.
Which advertising message brought about a particular sale? I saw this ad, I bought a product. That's what the business owner wants.
Pay enough to make it awesome and nothing fancy after that. Hire smart people to solve your strategy problems, write your campaigns, and buy your media. Don't do that yourself, you'll get electrocuted.
Format doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters is how many people are you reaching, how often, and for how many dollars. That one time, and he sold a $50,000 roof, and then nothing for like a month and a half, because that's not how it fucking works.
But if you want me to think that you're smart, skilled, meticulous, and committed to excellence, make ads that reflect that. Yeah, your nephew's got a Mac and iMovie, and he'll probably do it all for just weed money. But it's not worth the money you'll save, and it's not worth the money you'll spend.
Henry Ford once said, stopping advertising to save money is like stopping a clock to save time. In this episode of Advertising in America, we're talking about marketing myths that just don't measure up. In a marketplace filled with alternative facts, here's Chris to check some facts. Chris?
Hire actors who will make your ideas great on the radio and on TV. Hire photographers and musicians and directors with talent, whose talent will reflect positively on your brand. If your positioning is the bargain basement, cheapest, low-cost provider in the world, by all means, make your ads look super cheap too, and you can be damn sure I'm going to believe you. But if you want me to think that you're smart, skilled, meticulous, and committed to excellence, make ads that reflect that. Yeah, your nephew's got a Mac and iMovie, and he'll probably do it all for just weed money. But it's not worth the money you'll save. And it's not worth the money you'll spend.
I love that you pretend like you're not working for weed money also. Between Mick and his wife, they have 2 doctorates. Be sure to ask him about that sometime. Now here's Mick to talk about more marketing myths that don't measure up. Mick?
Okay, my myth is measurement is everything. I love it when a client asks us how we're going to measure success because we have a really solid answer for that. We're going to measure success by how much money you're making. But then sometimes that seems like it's not enough for them. They want to measure really closely. They want to connect the dots precisely. They want to know which advertising message brought about a particular sale. I saw this ad, I bought a product. That's what the business owner wants. Sadly, that's not a thing, and it makes them really mad when I tell them that. It's still true, though, and just because you want to be able to connect every dot doesn't mean you can actually do that, or even that they're connected the way you think they should be. But it does raise an interesting point. Where did this obsession with measurement come from? I want to have a different phone number on the radio ads and another number on the TV ads and another one on the trucks, another one on the digital ads, so we can see which one is working. You think that's crazy? Sometimes they have a different web address for different radio stations. They're not wondering if radio works. They're wondering if sports talk works, or is it New Country that brings in the sale? It's all nonsense. It's a myth. Radio works, TV works, digital works, social stuff works, direct mail works. When did you all become research scientists trying to answer the grand question of what advertising works? And remember, if you actually do think you're a scientist, and you're not, by the way, your research is completely worthless unless you have a control. Do you have a control? Do you even know what I'm talking about? If you don't, then stop asking for measurements. If you want to know if country music works, you have to run a campaign reaching a fixed number of people, a fixed number of times a week, and you have to run that for about a year. And then the following year, you have to run commercials in a different market, this time on a sports talk station, again for a year, being sure to reach the exact same number of people, the same number of times. Oh, and you have to have the same message too, identical commercials. This is a control, remember? Then at the end of the second year, you can compare your results and consider the data. I don't know about you, but my clients don't have time to do a study like that. And luckily, this shit has already been studied over and over again. And the results are, format doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters is how many people are you reaching, how often, and for how many dollars. Ditto for TV, ditto for digital. When you wrapped your trucks, did you measure the results of that? When you changed your uniforms, did you measure the results of that? With a control, of course, send 50% of your staff out with the old uniform and the other half with the new ones and track the productivity of the two groups. No, because that would be stupid, crazy, and a waste of time and money. Ditto for marketing. Trust the big data. Advertising works. Do it well. Do it often. And stop pretending that one commercial makes anyone do anything. It all works together. The marketing, the truck wrap, the uniform, the staff training. Measure it all together. How much money are you making? That's how you measure success.
And then there's the facts, Jack. When we get back, we'll debunk more marketing junk. But first, a word from our sponsor.
So this is normally when Ryan throws to himself, kind of a commercial within a show about commercials. And that's fine, we could let him do that. But really what you want to hear is me yelling at you. That's the reason you tune into the show. Sure, the conversations are fun and the insights are thought-provoking, but what you really want is cursing, and that's where I come in. I mean, I don't want to get all shit or get off the pot on you, but at the moment, Ryan's doing this whole, I'll give you 45 minutes of my time to help you narrow down your challenges and find a solution thing. You think that asshole will give me 45 minutes to shoot the shit? But here's what he does. This maniac will go over everything. Your sales process, your offers, your loyalty club, and yes, your marketing. And then you don't have to do a fucking thing. You can take all that insight and roll. If you like what you hear and want a deeper dive away, my friend. Ryan ends up not working with about 90% of the people he meets. But the ones he does end up working with, they start here. So think about that. He's got a whole web thingy where you can book an appointment. It's at wizardofads.services. Stupid address? You want to believe it. And I'd say that to his face. wizardofads.services. And now, let's get back to the stuff I really want to curse about. Shit!
Chris is taking swings at cheap thinking, and Mick smacked down measurement madness. So let's keep busting, because the myths don't stop there. Some of the most dangerous ones are the sweet little lies business owners tell themselves every day. Let's walk through a few more of our faves. We've talked about the myth of production, and we've talked about the myth of measurement. What are some of the thoughts that you have countering each other on each one of these myths?
Well, I'm not sure I want to counter him necessarily, but there's an aspect of that myth that I think is interesting. When you look at things in terms of line items, then obviously any reasonable person is going to say, well, how do I make that line item less? Because anytime you can reduce a line item, that goes straight to the bottom line. That makes everybody happy. But I put that in the context of what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to get a job done, or are you trying to win a game? Here's what I mean. We're the three of us are very familiar with private equity. And private equity is known for coming in, buying a company, and the first thing they want to do is reduce efficiencies, right? That's how they make their money, is they reduce efficiencies. Can we buy toilet paper for less? Can we, find ways of reducing costs and laying off staff and downsizing things? And one of the first things that private equity companies generally do is fire us. And it seems very self-serving to say I think that's a mistake, but I know why they do it. And that's because they can absolutely find somebody who can write their ads who will charge less than me. And I think that's the conversation that goes on at these companies is, can we find someone who can write commercials for less than these guys? And the answer is, oh, yes, absolutely, unequivocally, yes. But you're thinking of it in terms of how much does it cost to get this job done? And if you think of it in terms of getting the job done, then if you can get it done for a lower amount, then you do that. If you change the thought to how do I win, all of that goes away. Because if you talk to the New York Yankees and say, can we find somebody who can go out there and play baseball for less than that guy? Oh, yes, you could find people to play baseball.
He wants millions of dollars, apparently.
Yeah, millions of dollars. You can find a guy who will give up his $100,000 a year job to do it. Yep. Will he win games? Well, no, but I mean, he can swing and he can hit and he can pitch and he can run around the bases and he can do all of ostensibly all of the things that those players can do. The only thing they can't do is beat the other team.
Right.
The only thing they can't do is win the game. So ask yourself, when you're making these decisions about, for example, production, are you saying to yourself, how much does it cost to do this job? Mm-hmm. Or how much does it cost to win the game? Because when you're making a commercial, you're trying to fucking beat somebody. You're trying to beat the other guy. You're trying to win. You're not trying to tick a box. You're trying to
good.
win.
We got a commercial made. Done.
And I think it's that mental mistake that people are making when they just think of things as a light item and say, can I do this cheaper? Can my nephew with a camera do this? Like, yeah, sure, but can he win? Can he beat somebody else? We have to beat people, right? Our job as the ad company is to grow our clients' business, to make them more money. Well, where does that money come from?
Right.
Somebody else. It comes from somebody else. We're not flying new customers into your market. We're taking business away from your competitors. We're making them switch. That's freaking brutal. We're making them change their minds. And you think you can accomplish that by simply doing the job? No, we're winning. We're the winners and they are the losers. This is harsh stuff we're talking about. If you want to win the game, you need to get freaking winners, not just get people who can do the job. I get fucking pissed about this.
Well, that is really one of the myths that we kind of outlined of the big ones that we constantly hear. Anyone can do marketing. Well, yes, anyone technically can do marketing.
If you're ticking the box.
If you just need to put somebody in the chair.
Right. There has been so many astoundingly obvious cases of massive failures of that exact thing. And it's not just a one person thing either. It's not just the writer that matters. It's not just the media buyer that matters, but it's also the operator that matters. If the operator's not behind the brand, if the operator's not championing this at every single level, our most successful companies have always been obsessed with the brand. It's not just this is my brand. This is my culture. This is everything.
My rant applies to everything. It applies to the media buyer. Some people say, oh, I've been buying media for a while. I can do it. It's like, no, you can't. I mean, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. Yes, I could buy media too. I mean, I wouldn't do it well, but I could do it. And I can't do it in such a way that my media buy can beat a professional media buyer's buy.
It was fascinating to hear a person of interest, not what I consider a prospect, but a potential prospect for the Wizard of Ads say, oh, I buy my own media and I'm pretty good. It's a local station. I can get a really good deal out of them because I'm a good negotiator. I'm like, I've articulated everything that you don't know.
They love it when
his own job.
When you walk into the radio station doing your negotiation, you sound like a guy who walks into a Vegas casino and says, "I can win at blackjack. I've got a system." Oh, they love people with systems. Please come in, try your system at our casino. I'll give you free tickets to Penn and Teller if you want to try out your system with me. Yeah. They love these things. You think that you can do that as well as someone who only buys media all day, every day, and is constantly trying to win.
Well, and this is the thing that gets me is as soon as you reverse that argument and say, well, I could probably install that water heater myself. I mean, you really just got to connect the hot and cold.
I watched a YouTube video. It's not actually that complicated.
Yeah, there's lots of videos that show me how to do that. And they will go on about how, well, no, I mean, you got to have years of experience to know whether the such and such.
And they're right.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's like, how come it doesn't apply for, nobody says, well, I could do a little dental work. I mean, I've got a mouth.
I got a drill.
I brush my teeth every day, so I can certainly help you with your cavity. How hard can it be?
Well, this is it. Fun fact, leaders in businesses absolutely call out marketing as the number one challenge that they have in their businesses every single day. And now marketing is a monstrous category. Mm-hmm. It includes sales. It includes advertising. It includes lead capture and all of these different components. And yet they feel like getting it out to the lowest common bidder is going to be the solution to piece together this highly complex piece of machinery.
How many times have you been in a situation where a client says, hey, I'm going to have an in-house marketing person. I haven't done that before. I'm doing that now. It's like, oh, that's great. It's my niece. And it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, you're screwed.
Your niece asked you for a job, and you said, well, I'll put her somewhere where she can't do any damage because she doesn't know how to install water heaters.
She always wanted to do marketing.
And she knows something about social media.
She likes to tweet.
Right. It's like, we're looking to beat professional marketers.
Yeah. Yeah, you're putting yourself in a position of a special kind of screwed.
If your niece is 50 and really good at marketing, please do that.
Yeah, if you're hiring away from Anheuser-Busch,
there
then
you go.
By all means.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, there's a skill set there. And there's a huge difference between a writer, a videographer, a marketing ops person, a strategist, a media buyer, and nobody is all of those people.
Yeah.
Right. I would not even.
And that is
attempt.
one of those great myths that we're up against, which is
There you go.
anybody can do marketing. And the number of times, I mean, you've made this point that the number of times they promote a guy from the sales department to the marketing department, or from this department to the marketing department, it's because, he knows the stuff. It's like, no, it's a different
Sales
job.
and marketing are not the
Those are
same
not
job
the
at
same
all.
job. And just because you watch TV and you've seen tons of commercials yourself.
I watched
does
all
not-
of Mad Men. I can do marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guess what? I watched all of ER. Do not give me a scalpel.
Well, they do think that it's the same. I grew up thinking that I knew lots about marketing. I knew lots about sales and promotion, but I didn't know anything about marketing really to speak of. And you and I spoke about this before, Mick. There's a tension that needs to be between sales and marketing.
Their goals are not perfectly aligned, are they? And the worst case is when somebody puts somebody in charge of both of those jobs, because that's a problem.
Absolutely.
Marketing's job is to make the phone ring. Sales' job is to answer the phone and close a deal. And once the phone has rung, marketing's job is done.
Right.
Sales' job has just started. They're different.
Well, and that's where most of our clients are hitting the wall with marketing, is that they think that marketing is selling.
They really do.
When selling is a subset of marketing, and marketing does not sound like selling at top of funnel. At the top of funnel, it's about making a person feel enough that they trust you to show up at their door or come into your showroom or whatever the case might be.
Give you a shot.
Give you a shot, and it sounds nothing like sales. That's the very first lesson I learned at the first Wizard of Ads meeting it with the partners was, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Well,
Like,
it's one of the things I liked actually when I met you is like, I have to confess, I had a bit of that same myth in my own brain. I thought I kind of knew about sales because I knew about marketing. And I was just as wrong when I met you, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know anything about sales, actually. I thought it was just getting people to walk through the door and then they would magically purchase things.
They just buy
no,
our
it turns
stuff.
out it's not as simple as that, no.
There's a little bit of a dance. And that's why people struggle in sales. That's why people struggle in marketing, because people are going to continue to struggle in the thing that is difficult for everyone, and that's communication. One, because people are a wild card. We don't know how they're going to respond individually. Masses of people are predictable, but the individual is not. What do? We have to play two different games as the game is being played. And that's a struggle for a lot of people.
So there's a myth right there. Sales and marketing are the same. No, they should be fighting each other.
Dramatically different. Well, they should be in tension with each other.
Yeah, that's
they
right.
shouldn't be in
shouldn't be
friction
fighting. Yeah.
with each other.
But sales should want more leads, and marketing should want you to close more deals.
That's
but
it.
they're not the same thing.
That's right. Yeah. Here's one of the more brilliant things that I've ever heard was from Rory Sutherland, the VP of Ogilvy in UK, and he said most people believe that their customers want the best thing, when in fact what their customers want is something a little less shitty than what they have right now.
Yeah.
Right now, he was British, and he probably said that a lot nicer with a fancy accent. So
Yeah. Yes.
we can all agree that he's the epitome. But he makes a very valid point.
Almost nobody buys the best anything, actually.
And if you think of a category, I mean, automotive is great. And it's true all the way up the top and bottom of the automotive category, which is, I mean, what's the best car? I don't know. It's the McLaren. It's the Lamborghini Aventador or something like that.
Rolls-Royces
But you know what? People who want that car, they'll buy a Porsche because it's pretty damn good. Holy cow! I can drive a car that'll do it on a racetrack. And it's like then there's people who wish they had a Porsche, but they go, I'll take the Civic Type R. It's pretty, it's pretty sporty or whatever. Like you pick the one that you want that's a little better.
And on the same topic of myths, I'm sure there are an equal number of business owners who believe the exact opposite of what you just said, which is consumers are looking for the least expensive. And that's why so much marketing is about come to me and you'll pay less. I mean, think of the major rent-a-car companies, right? You got Discount, you got Thrifty, you got Payless, and you got Dollar, right? Like all of them are it's like, if you rent from me, it will cost less money. Well, is that the only thing you have to say to people? If you purchase products from me, you won't pay as much money. So that's just as stupid a myth, because I don't believe that consumers are ever necessarily looking for the least expensive unless all other things are equal. Well, if they believe all other things are equal, then marketing has failed.
True. And everyone would be driving, little Kia.
Whatever's the cheapest car. I don't even know what it is. But it would be the cheapest car, and they're not the most popular.
Base level trucks and everything, yeah. And people don't. They gravitate towards the middle. If we're talking about the masses, having worked at Ford and a lot of other major manufacturers in automotive, they're going for the midline products 80% of the time. There's a few high-end ones that are sold. There's a few bottom-line ones sold.
Which means people do understand value.
Yeah.
In fact,
and everybody's
you pay a
got
little
their
more,
own
you actually get
equation
something that makes more sense.
Of what's worth paying for. Is this the best car? Even people who are buying a Mercedes, they're going, and a lot of people would think that's the best car. No, the Maybach is the best. There's another one above that, right? That's why I say there's a supercar that is better than the Lamborghini Aventador, right? There's always something more, but the equation doesn't work out. There are people at whatever stratus you're on in that thinking. It's, I would pay this much more to have this, but paying this much more to have that, which is arguably better, but it's not worth the extra money for me.
There are
and then
always
if you got
diminishing
tons,
returns.
there's
always diminishing returns when you go there.
There's also a really interesting juxtaposition between an internally triggered purchase and an externally triggered purchase. An identity-driven purchase, like a vehicle, you go into a dealership and you look to find the one that's just a bit better, right? And then a bit better than what you have right now. So something a little less shitty than what you have now, right? It's newer, it's shinier, it's got lower miles on it, the whole gamut. The exact same thing in a hot water tank is the reverse of that. The only reason why you would buy something more expensive is because you're getting a better warranty. You're getting something that's going to last longer and cause you less burden. So people are transactional in that externally triggered grudge purchase. We're relational or more relational minded because we're feeding our identity in one, and we're feeding our identity of being a good buyer in the other.
But equally, they will change their equation of it is worth this much money for these advantages that you just named versus is it worth this much money for some other advantages that, I don't know, that's not as meaningful.
And we also have experience, like we have life experience. I mean, the famous tagline for Stella Artois, reassuringly expensive, right? Which I think is it's a great line. It really it fulfills all the obligations of a good tagline. Reassuringly expensive. But I have a thing that I have in my head, which the opposite of that, which is suspiciously affordable. If someone says to me, a water heater, what does it do? Makes your water hot. Is there a Ferrari of water heaters? I don't think so. So I should really just get the cheapest one, right? Well, if someone said, hey, we got this new water heater, it's $150, I'd be like, well, hold on a second.
This is my basement we're talking about. I got some valuables down there.
I don't know about this $200 water heater. That sounds like a terrible idea. Well, why would I as a consumer not want the same thing for less money? It's because all of my experience has told me that the cheapest one is shit.
It can't possibly be the same thing.
Right. And it gets grayer when there's less available information, right? Boxes in basements and in garages, cooling your house or heating your water are so much different than the overtly public of Lululemon pants and Ford F-150s, right? And that has a fairly dramatic effect on how people buy. The challenge is that when we're serving home service customers, they think that they can do internally triggered identity purchase marketing tactics, and that's just not real. That's a myth that needs to be debunked, but it's like 90% of the marketing messaging that's out there about marketing, right? Which creates a challenge for us. Another really interesting myth for us is that we've seen for years and years and years is that the reach is the thing that you're looking to get most.
When you're talking about media.
When we're talking about media, we want to reach the most amount of people, right with our media.
Well, and that's a myth that makes perfect sense, and that's why it sticks. Is because it is very easy to explain to somebody. Well, we're going to be talking to people about your business. Do you want us to talk to 50,000, or would you like us to talk to 100,000? Shit. Well,
like more, please.
I want more, please. Whereas say, well, we want to talk to these same 50. We want to talk to them a lot more often. That is not as clear to me as a non-marketing expert why that would be. It actually takes experience, or in our case, decades and decades of doing it and finding out to find out why would I want to reach 50,000 people 3 times instead of 150,000 people once in a week. Except that what we know is for the same dollars, dollar for dollar, reaching 150,000 people once a week or reaching $50,000 3 times a week, you will make more money reaching $50,000 people 3 times a week. We've done the research, we've done the math. That's the sweet spot. You reach 10,000 people 5 times a week. That's down. That's now a diminishing return. There is a sweet spot. Roy figured this out. He figured this out 20 years ago. We don't have to keep running these same experiments, but it's not as intuitive, is it?
No. And it comes from something we've talked about in previous episodes about just because somebody sees your ad, the job isn't done. You haven't ticked the box. It's not a killer ad. It is that relationship you have, especially with a campaign, right? Is that the more you see that ad, the more you go, I like this campaign. I like these characters. I'm following this ongoing plot. If there's enough, going on in the ad, maybe if you hear it once, you don't hear all the jokes, you don't hear all the references, you don't get all the points. You want to hear it that second time, that third time, because there's more for you to get out of it each time. The value of those repeated listens, and then the next spot and the next spot, that's about building a relationship. And you don't build a relationship by going, I saw the ad, they heard my ad, they have internalized everything I wanted to say to them because I tagged them like.
Well, and that comes back to measurement again, right? This idea that you do a mailer campaign, a direct mail campaign, and then you wait for the phone to ring, and if the phone rings, you pat yourself on the back, and if it doesn't, you say, well, I guess direct mail doesn't work. Well, no, direct mail is like everything else. You have to hit them over the head with it over and over and over and over again. But it's like, I remember this time I had a client in the roofing business. And we had a really, really great campaign for them. And I happened to know that the first commercial ran at 6:30 a.m. on the first day. And somebody called my client at 8. It had literally run once.
Yes.
And they called the client at 8, and I swear to God, he said the person on the phone said, "I've been hearing your ads." No, you haven't. You used the wrong. You shouldn't have put an S on the end.
Yes.
Like you heard the ad one, and my client sold him a $50,000 roof, and he was like, "I love this new ad of yours." It's like, hold on, listen, and let me look you in the eye. That doesn't happen ever. Okay. Never, ever, ever does that happen. I tell this story because it doesn't happen.
Just that one time.
That one time, and he sold a $50,000 roof, and then nothing for like a month and a half because that's not how it fucking works. But it was just this one. But God, he wanted to. He was like so proud of this message. I'm like, we don't know if this is a good message or not. We're going to know in a year.
Yeah. Now you do know in a year because you now have revenue and leading and lagging indicators that show that. But again, we're chasing these red herrings is just absolutely exhausting for business owners. It's about trusting in a system that has been proven to work over and over and over again. Now, I find in a lot of cases we either have the companies that are both operationally proficient and culture oriented that drive this home and blow up. The companies who blame their marketing for not working are the companies who are not delivering in the operations. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the wherewithal or even the right mix to do it right. We find a lot of these folks end up going off the reservation and doing some other stuff and then blaming the whole thing from falling apart when they didn't actually continue running the marketing system. And it's the system that works as a whole that system is always going to be more durable, it's going to be stronger when you're running it as a single unit rather than a bunch of ad hoc little projects, with the hopes of capturing that discretionary short-term lead that you're desperate for because something broke or a pay-per-click went off the rails or whatever happened. All of a sudden, you're beholden to these channels, and you haven't built any foundation. You're just on a house of sticks, and there's a windstorm coming. So,
well, and very often people can draw an incorrect conclusion. I think that's where a lot of these myths come from.
Yes.
People will draw an incorrect conclusion, and then they'll go and spread it around. You hear anecdotal stuff from a competitor, or not a competitor, but like a friend of yours who's in business, and they're like, "Oh, well, don't do direct mail. I tried direct mail and it doesn't work." Or don't bother with TV. I tried TV and it doesn't work. It's like, well,
yeah.
Are we sure TV didn't work, or did you run too much reach and not enough frequency? Mm-hmm. What was your commercial? Was it good? Was it shitty? Like, was it a good ad? We don't know. They're drawing the conclusion that the medium is a failure, or that the channel is the problem. And it's like, well, there are 100 other variables. It might have been that the production was rubbish. It might have been that the writing was no good. I mean, that's like me saying, hey, listen, I tried to build a house myself out of wood. Turns out wood's not a good idea because I built it and it was just crap. It was a crap house. So don't try using wood.
Don't use lumber,
because they were all twisted and pointed the wrong way, and the rain
Nails
was coming in. It was, and then it fell over. So yeah, definitely don't use wood.
Yeah. So true. And we poke a little fun because we care. Ultimately, what it comes down to is there's an awful lot of misinformation. There's more misinformation and flat out, false information.
More examples of advertising that fails than advertising that really works. That's for sure.
Exactly. So we'll have more of these episodes that we talk about the myths, because we could go on forever on this, but we really have to find a place where we can put a pin in it.
Remember that saying, only half your marketing is working, you just don't know which half? Let's help you with that. Book a free strategy session with Wizard Ryan Shute today at wizardofads.services. Yes, that's a URL. wizardofads.services. Now let's get back to the show.
Marketing myths are like urban legends. They stick around because they're easy, comforting, and sound just true enough to be dangerous. The truth is less glamorous, but far more powerful. Advertising doesn't have to be an expense, but being unremarkable is expensive. Perfect attribution is a fool's errand. Measure what really matters instead. Cheap work looks cheap. This only works if you're the cheapest guy in town. Doubling down on your budget is no promise of doubling your lead flow or revenue. Reach is meaningless without frequency and impact. Marketing takes 3 essential elements to work best: brand awareness, sales activation, and lead capture. And people rarely buy the best. They buy better enough. If you want your business to grow, ditch the myths, spend enough to be excellent, commit to the long game, and trust your proven truths instead of chasing the fables of failure. This is how you bust myths and build empires. Until next time, this is Advertising in America.
Thank you for joining us on Advertising in America. We hope you enjoyed the show and captured a nugget of marketing magic. Want to hear more? Subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. Do you have questions or topics you want us to cover? Join us on our socials at Advertising in America. Want to spend your marketing budget better? Visit us at wizardofads.services to book your free strategy session with Wizard Ryan Shute today. Until next time, keep your ads enchanting and your audience captivated.